All right. Well, thank you guys so much. It's really awesome to be here. Thank you, Garrett, for starting We Love Charlotte and making this possible. It's brought so many people together. I'm really honored to be here talking tonight. And so Garrett and I originally met. We were introduced through Carrie Parker from Pink Toast, and we were both in the market at Atherton, and she introduced us. They were having a meeting, and we both just got to talking because we kind of felt like we had both heard a lot about each other and just needed to kind of start that conversation. So we met, and then a couple months after that, Garrett came out to a Moroccan cooking class that we had. And I think he likes to say that he was tweeting more than he was cooking, but it was still like, I don't really believe that. I think he was cooking a lot and he picked up some good skills now. But yeah, and then after that we met and we had coffee and just continued the conversation and really got to know why we both love it here. And so I grew up in Charlotte. I don't know if anybody else is a natives to Charlotte. There's like one or two hands. Okay, well, I'm excited about that. You know, I've grown up here and gotten to see the city really grow in a big way, and that's awesome. It's a great place to have our business, to have Chef Alyssa's Kitchen, and I love the fact that this is always like just there's new buzz in Charlotte. There's great energy in the room. There's great energy throughout Charlotte, and I love that that's happening. So yeah, I'm a chef, and I started Chef Alyssa's Kitchen a few years ago. That's kind of where I guess I started being referred to as like Chef Alyssa. So it's kind of something I'm still getting used to, but I do get to interact with a lot of people, and that's really cool. Although I still kind of, it's nerve-wracking, you know. I get to like be up in front of people cooking, and I do demos on TV, and I get to do demos in front of a lot of people, but still, like, if I don't have a knife and a cutting board in front of me and have my props set up, I kind of don't really know what to do with my hands and what I'm supposed to like really convey. So you guys will have to bear with me. I have note cards, so I'm gonna kind of refer to those a little bit, but hopefully you guys will warm up, and it'll be good. I'll warm up. I'll warm up. But okay, so something that when I do interact with people, these two questions come up a lot when I'm talking, and when people try to kind of get to know me a little bit more, and they ask, what got you into cooking, and then why did you start your business? And those questions just kind of follow right after one another. But what I wanted to do tonight is talk about the story in between those questions, because there's a lot of stuff. I spent most of my career working in restaurants, and then starting a business isn't really what I set out to do, but I'm so happy that I'm doing it. But I built up, and I really wouldn't have become a good teacher and everything if I hadn't really been through restaurants and learned what that's like. So I know we all eat, and I know we all enjoy dining out, and so like becoming part of the restaurant industry was a really cool thing. And even though I get to be in front of people a lot, I'm more of an introvert. So, you know, that's just part of me, and I think that it kind of translated well to being in the back of the kitchen, and I felt comfortable there. I could kind of keep my head down and just focus on my work. And I think a lot of artists can relate to that. Just, you know, maybe if you're an artist or you're a photographer, you kind of let your work speak for itself, and you just kind of let this inner monologue that you have going on just come through with what you're doing. And so for me, it was like building flavors and textures and what I could do with food. And I just kind of focused on that and kind of that quiet nature that I had. I've always been like a shy person. So, if there was like a dance circle going on, I'm not going to be the first one to jump into it. And I'm not going to really even, I'd be the last person to start it. I am kind of more reserved, but, I kind of did develop sort of this edge being in a kitchen. And part of that kind of comes from being a female in the kitchen. And trust me, I'm not going to take that stance. I'm not the kind of person that thinks to myself, like, oh, well, it's tougher on me because I'm a girl. But I know that that's sort of the significant thing, because that's the fact of the matter. There aren't a lot of females that cook in a kitchen. And when you get through that, it takes a lot. And when you are female in the kitchen, you're outnumbered, and you're looked at as sort of weak and fragile and just like needing help. So I just woke up every single day and tried to prove them wrong. I just would kind of have this attitude that I can do things myself, I don't need help, I got this. So, that's really what I had kind of going on, and it made me stubborn. It made me not want to reach out for help and just get through things by myself. So, I probably acquired a few extra burns in the kitchen than I would have normally, but, you get stubborn. But me being kind of that, not exactly the tallest person in the kitchen, I would be more, had to get resourceful. So, I'd be like running through the kitchen and bat something down off a shelf and just like have to be there right at the right amount of time that I could like catch it, and scale metro racks to just get what I needed. And even though you're part of a team, you still like feel like you have something to prove. And I think anybody would feel that being in an environment where you're just kind of singled out sometimes. But I did kind of brush that off a little bit when I transitioned into what I do now. And it's more of feeling like I'm in the real world now, where it's okay to ask for help, and that people are around you to support you and help you in anything that you really would need. So in groups like this, it's so cool. I know everybody can kind of like probably look at least one person or 5 people in this room and know that they've gotten help and that they connect with people. But when you're in a kitchen and it's kind of this like secluded environment, you really don't want to ask for help, because you feel like, at least, a lot of girls, and I felt like the moment I ask for help is the moment I'm going to be looked at as weak. And that's the world. That's just kind of what you do when you're in this really physical environment. And it is really physical. Like everything you're doing is working hard, and you're on your feet. And it's a little bit masochistic in that way. Like everybody is comparing the amount of hours that they put in compared to the next person. Like, how hard did I work? And, oh, you want to get off from your shift? Well, I've been working here longer today than you have. So, you're just like always thinking about yourself compared to somebody else. So for me, I wanted to be quick and precise and like outwork the people next to me. And that's really how I carried myself when I worked in the kitchen and worked on the line. But, I worked hard, and there are stories that I get to kind of hear now. That there's a story that I heard from Kit, and she's Chef Paul Verica's wife, and she told me a story. Actually, she told Andrew a story, who then told me. But it was a story about when Paul first hired me, and Paul Verica is the chef out at Heritage, and he's an awesome chef. He's doing incredible things out there, and really helped me develop the values that I have for working with farmers and different purveyors. So it's a great place if you haven't been there. But when I first started working with him, I had just graduated from the Art Institute, and I volunteered at the club at Longview and worked a shift. And so after that shift, I kind of started talking to him afterward and asked about a position there. And when he went home to Kit, he told her, I hired a girl today. And she was like, well, I thought you weren't going to hire another girl because of some past experiences. And I don't want that to sound like Chef Paul wouldn't be a great person to work with females. Like, he is, don't get me wrong. But I guess just at this point, when he was building a staff at his restaurant, or at the club. And he told her, like, this one's different. And hearing that so many years later just made me realize that, you're on this path and you don't really know exactly where it's headed, but like the hard work pays off, and these relationships that you build are through like that hard work. And so it comes through with that physical work in what you're doing, but it also helped me kind of develop my ambition for what I do now. And when I started, I was like, I work really hard now, and there are days that are long, but I'm used to those days because in a kitchen, you're working, your days might start like at 8 a.m. and you might not finish till 11. And it's these grueling shifts that we talk about a lot, but when you're working those, you're kind of preparing for the day. You're preparing for that like dinner shift. So when you're in a restaurant, you're starting your day kind of checking the books and making sure that everything is prepared, and you're prepared for what's going to come for that day. So as you're cooking, you're getting ready for that, and it's like this mad dash to 5 o'clock, because 5 o'clock is like the time where you just get this moment, this like one moment of calm before the storm, because you know when dinner is, and that shift just happens. And it's like balls to the wall for like 4 or 5 hours. You're working your butt off. You're sweating. You're working quick. You're working on the line, and you have to be prepared for that. But it's like this whole teamwork, this communication that happens between the cooks of like, if you ever walk by a kitchen, you can kind of have the chance to listen in, and you hear those callbacks. It's like 1 minute out, 2 minute out, like things that are just happening to communicate when the food's going to be ready. And because if you're working on the line, you've got people next to you, and one dish, 3 people might have come off of 3 different stations to make that one happen. And so it's all about timing and talking to the people next to you, and they're your teammates. And so you're like sweating together, you're getting burned together, and all those times you just don't want to let anybody down, especially your chef. Like, that's the scariest person in the kitchen, and that's the person like rolling, they're conducting the show. So you've got this orchestrator of all of these different moving parts. And I can remember so many times where I like was burned. I mean, obviously you get asked about it all the time, but you can't leave your station. Like, the repercussions of your chef coming down on you is a lot worse than the burn or the scar that you might have on your arm later, because you don't want to let down your team. If you walk off the line, everything crumbles, and they rely on you, because it takes a long time to like get to that position. And so working through a line is like really, it's exciting, and it's kind of the thing that chefs love the most, is like that rush and that excitement that you're feeling. And kind of figuring out. But I think I'm a little further along in my cards than I thought. They weren't just here in my hand, but I forgot about them. But yeah, like you work really hard at that job, and then it's something that was that kind of left. I left working as an executive chef for starting Chef Alyssa's Kitchen. And I miss it. I miss working on the line. Definitely something that you miss that excitement. And any chef that has transitioned will kind of tell you that they'll take a lot of opportunities to get back to that. So they feel like you don't like lose it, because that's like when you're at your prime, I guess. But in starting Chef Alyssa's Kitchen, I didn't really set out to teach. It was something an idea that my now fiance Andrew had. He had this idea that, teaching, that people learning would be a great experience, that starting cooking classes would be an awesome thing. And I think at the time, I was working a lot of hours, and if chefs are teaching a cooking class and they're already working in their restaurants, it's kind of like a side thought. You prepare for this thing, but it's very different than what you do, and you don't really want to take that on. So I didn't want to take that on. But I said, okay, yeah, great, that's awesome. We'll just kind of let that lay. But it was this bug that kind of started in my ear. And when I was ready, and I decided that I wasn't going to continue with the hours and the work and the pace that I had kept up for a long time, I thought it would be a great different angle that I hadn't thought about with cooking, and a different angle I could take things, because I started to realize that people did want to learn. They wanted to learn from a chef, and it's just these little tips and tricks that you can take home with you and learn and cook better for yourself at home. And I think it took a partner with a different perspective on my career to kind of show me that that was something I could do. I didn't have that kind of confidence in what I was doing. Like I said, I was always like competitive in a way that not I thought I was better than anybody, but just in a way that I wanted to prove myself. But an outside person who doesn't cook and wasn't caught up in that kind of world that I was thinking about would show me that that was something I could do. And it developed, and I thought, okay, like, let's kind of give this a try. And we analyzed it. We analyzed the market and cooking classes that had come before us, either in Charlotte and other ones throughout the country. And we just kind of tried to hone in on what could make us unique and different. And, we teach with amazing local ingredients and great healthy ingredients, and we make it fun. And I think that that's what draws in some other people who wouldn't normally take a cooking class, because it's more of an experience and something that you just really get to learn and be with other people, that you realize, like, you're not the only one who is not exactly an expert on cutting an onion like they are on Food Network. And everybody out there, I tell people that all the time, like, it's hard to compare yourself to what level of cooking you're at. But if you just come to a class and you're with people in this environment where there's just so many people around you doing the same thing, like, it gets to be fun. And everybody has to cook at some point. So, kind of try to make it easier. And I value that so much more. And healthy food is kind of the direction that I started taking cooking for me, because I wanted food to be healthy. Like, we can all indulge in food. Like, it's one of the great pleasures in life, and that's why I love what I do, because everybody experiences it and enjoys it, has something that they love. And indulging in food is wonderful, and you get to, as a cook, create food that you just you don't have to hold back. But I wanted to start to cook food that was better, because that's what I wanted to eat. I couldn't imagine keep cooking every day something that I wouldn't want to eat every day. So being a little bit more healthy with food and taking a different spin on it, not that I can't have fun and do crazy things like breakfast for dinner for Relish Carolina and things like that, just like greasy spoon. But it's different when you're kind of teaching people that want to cook better at home for themselves and their families, and giving them those little tips and tricks to make it better. And I love that. And I also love being part of the communities like this, and finding a home at the Atherton Market, which we found through Lynn Caldwell, who is, at the time, she was the director of the market, but she is starting the Food Innovation District. So if you haven't checked out the Food Innovation District, it's an awesome thing that's going to be part of Charlotte and really kind of change things, and you can get behind it, and it's awesome. So, and then I get to partner with great companies like Savory Spice Shop and Pour Olive, and do nutrition talks with 28 to Life with Christina Gillespie, and all kinds of these other great people in Charlotte that I didn't get to know outside of the kitchen. And that's awesome, breweries and all the great aspects of this city, and bringing that together is something that I didn't have kind of stuck in the back of the kitchen. And I sometimes want to revert back to that line cook of, sometimes I'm happy that we have a wall in the kitchen, in our kitchen in Atherton Market, because I can kind of hide behind it and be back to where I can compose myself. But it's kind of in the quiet, even though there's chaos. But I don't do that very often. I kind of just learn to enjoy the being part of people, of the experience with people. But I think that's also something that I don't want to lose. And so I guess a fear of mine is just being a chef in what I'm doing now is growing, but not wanting to lose that line cook in me. And so that's why I love doing things like, working with Relish Carolina and being creative, and just kind of putting food out that I don't have to, I can be creative in it and be in that chaos again, that awesome experience, that rush. And, then the other things I get to do, if I can go out and work at a shift with with Paul at Heritage and like experience that kind of mentor again, because I'm kind of in a different way. But mentors are something that I so value. I may not have always valued, but it's something that, in this field, I can still connect with those mentors. And so, like, Paul is a great mentor. Joe Bonaparte's been a great mentor. I don't know if you guys know his name in Charlotte, but if you're in the culinary world, he has changed so much here. Unfortunately, he's living in Myrtle Beach right now, so he's not in Charlotte. He's starting a school out there. But he established so much. He brought the slow food movement to Charlotte. He started a lot of farmers markets, like the Matthews Farmers Market, in so many ways that like kind of was the foundation for what we value in like our farmers and farm to fork movement now. And I get to mentor too, and that's pretty cool. Like I have 3 great girls that work with me, and I get to mentor them and help them grow. And I know that they're going to be great because they kind of have those innate sensibilities in the kitchen where you're just kind of watching and learning. And so much in art, in cooking, is watching and learning. Like, something I stumble with when I'm teaching is, okay, if somebody asks me, like, how long does that steak take to cook? But you're kind of working with all these variables that you have to be used to, like the heat and how thick the cut is and what you're cooking and how done you want it to be and all of these things and these requests and what you want and what the person next to you wants. And if you're cooking for a lot of people like you would be in a restaurant, you just have to like get to know those timings, and watching and learning is the most valuable thing you can do instead of asking for those questions outright. So I remember when I was like first working on the line and I was working the pantry station, I was just watching the saute cooks, because it's like you have to earn that hotline, and if you want to get there, you just watch. And I would watch them and like the rhythm of the timing of picking things up and how they would like juggle these times in their head, and like 5 saute pans and a pair of tongs, and how they could like time all this stuff up. And so learning that rhythm is just something that I just kind of studied. And so I know that them coming up and they study that, and that's incredible. I love the fact that I get to do that now. And I kind of know that through all these scars and these experiences, these things that I kind of went through, that I'm so fortunate in my career, but I also feel like I didn't get here by accident. And there is something that I just want to kind of read that kind of sums up my path and what I feel like I've gotten to. And so I'm going to kind of close this out with just this. And so I hope that you guys can kind of relate to this. But so I knew that this is just kind of what, to me, sums up what I wanted to say, and I kind of put this down. And so I knew that the hours and the scars and the tears that I went through, my body aching, and times that I gave up with my family or other relationships that I was in, was really part of working toward my future in this industry. And I just want to say not to give up, that you might have hard times, but if you feel that passion and that deeper meaning in what you're doing, then keep going. And for me, my path wasn't laid out, but I'm so truly happy with where I'm at, and I'm excited about what might happen, because I really don't know. But what I do know is that I wouldn't be as good a teacher or a business owner, a food business owner, if I hadn't been through all of this. And I hope that everyone out there can relate to that. And we all have a passion for something, and we may not know the path, but I feel that if I surround myself with people I can learn from, then I'll have a better chance of figuring that out. So that's really what I wanted to say. I think my hand's numb from gripping this mic. But yeah. Questions? Are there questions for me? No. Anything? Yes, Raven? Where do you see Chef Alyssa's kitchen in 5 years? Yeah, coming for our staff. Where do I see Chef Alyssa's kitchen in 5 years? We definitely have plans for growth. A lot of those things we're kind of keeping close to our chest, because we're small business, and but we'll always be doing cooking classes, and I think it's just a matter of kind of growing our concept to what we can include that expands a little bit more. Mixed food, still an experience, but not just a cooking class. So I know that's vague. But within the next few months, our goal is by the end of the year, we'll have some of these goals completed, and we'll be able to put out there what we're really hoping to do, at least in the next few steps. So, yeah. Yes, Remy? My comfort food? I think like braised brisket. Yeah, I love brisket. Yeah, that'd be my comfort food. So, yes.
What's the one culinary skill or tool that no one should live without?
The tool that you should not live without after a knife and like maybe some of those kitchen basics, 'cause I don't want to say like a pair of tongs, but I mean, I use a microplane like all the time. And it's so funny if we go through a class and I haven't used a microplane, I'm like, guys, I didn't use a microplane. But I mean, I use it for so many things. What's a microplane? Okay, good. Second question, what's a microplane? It's a very fine grater. So like we use ones that, there's a few different grinds, but it's like the small grater. So you can use it on cheese, but use it on like nutmeg or ginger and garlic and all kinds of stuff that you just want to make like a paste out of. Yeah, microplane. You guys have all seen one, I promise. Yeah.
What's your go-to meal? Like, you're having friends over, what are you going to make?
What am I going to make if I have friends over? It's funny, I'm having friends over in a few weeks, so I kind of need to figure that out. I would probably cook, like, I kind of go crazy with salads, and I'll cook like tons of different kinds of salad, like some cooked salads, some raw salads, and then probably just like one simple protein, like whether it's grilled steak or, doing like a braise. Like I love brisket, so I love braising chicken and things like that. So like I like deep flavors that are mixed with also raw flavors. So it's kind of like the balance of texture and richness. So yeah, that would be it. Okay, where should I go? I'll go to you and then you.
While you were talking, there's a quote that came to my mind about like teaching is learning twice. I don't know who said it, but I was wondering what, like now that you're teaching instead of just doing,
Yeah.
what have you learned from now being a teacher that is different from when you were doing it?
Yeah, a lot of it is different. So teaching versus doing is very different because you're doing these things that you feel are natural to you, like knowing the timing of things. And then when you have to explain that, I can't, like an answer that I would give somebody like, oh, well, you just know, is like very, very vague and very different if you're not used to it. So what I would have to like retrace my steps, like, and that also made me more aware of the hows and the whys, because you kind of learn it in school, and then when you're doing, you just know that, oh, that turns brown when that happens, but you don't really know like why and how to exactly tell people how to achieve it. So I've had to really like retrace those steps, but then also try to teach people how to make those things natural. Like the other night I was telling people about just like touching the food and feeling it and knowing how done it is and getting used to that, because like you never know when something is really going to be done because there are so many variables. So like being aware of that and the smells and all that. So yeah, just teaching how to make that natural for somebody, but also like a better way to explain it than just, yeah. So you had a question behind you.
For people who are visiting Charlotte for the first time, if they were to ask you, like, what are a few places that are kind of the epitome of the Charlotte food scene, like, where would you tell them to go?
Where to go to eat? I guess I can say that by naming like some places I love and where. So I would probably say, breakfast at like Little Spoon and lunch at Earl's and dinner at Heritage, and then like coffee at any number of places. But yeah, I guess so I always thought that the way you know when the food culture somewhere is changing is when the casual joints are really good. Because I would go to like all these great big cities that are known for their food, and the most casual places would have incredible food. And so I thought if these really unassuming places would have great food, then like people are really demanding more in Charlotte and demanding more of their food. So I could almost name like casual places because I think that's really cool, but I gotta name Heritage. So, yeah. Are there? I see a hand in the back.
When you first came up with your business idea, how did you get the word out and get people to come to your class?
Getting the word out was really relying on like all these jumps and connections. So I definitely like having a partner, having Andrew, like I can focus more on food and not necessarily, I'm calling him out, he can be up here talking with me, but yeah, getting the word out I think was just connecting with people that I knew could also get the word out. So if I could impress somebody or let people know about it and they were like truly impressed and liked it, then just kind of expanding my reach was the best way. And then luckily, I knew a lot of people from different things like in restaurants and food writers that I hoped would be able to come and write something about it would be a way to put it out there. So I think just like establishing the connections and partnering and all that kind of stuff was the way we were able to like spread our word. Yeah.
What inspired you to become a chef?
What inspired me to be a chef was like people. When I was young, I would cook with, not really with my mom because she didn't love to cook, but when I would cook at home, it's kind of funny, my mom loves kitchen gadgets. Like we had a slicer and all kinds of stuff in my kitchen, but she just like never used it. I think she just liked feeling like she was surrounded by things that would make her job easier. And me, I'm like, I hate cooking with, I mean, of course I love a slicer, or something like that, but I don't have a lot of gadgets or anything like that. But I loved when she would have people over and I would cook something and I'd be like, oh, let me like help prepare something, because it's like having people over and getting people together is just that wonderful thing that I could be part of. And if somebody liked what I did, and that's another thing, like that high that chefs get from what we cook is when we know somebody liked it. So, kind of like catching a glance at the dining room and knowing somebody liked what you made. So beware of creeping chefs when you're eating, because they will definitely look out if they can. So it's the people. It's knowing that you made something that people like and you're part of somebody's experience that makes it like exciting. I was kind of addicted to that. So, yeah. Yes.
So given that as a chef you peek out into the restaurant and kind of see how people are liking it, what's a way that someone can be a really good customer? I mean, besides coming back a lot.
Being a really good.
Necessarily want to have people from a table tell you, hey, I really like the lemon that you added to this that gave so much brightness and really showed off what you did.
Yeah, if you want to give feedback and really tell somebody that you like something, those kind of specific things are awesome, because anybody can say, oh, it was really good, and you kind of take that with a grain of salt. You don't really know. But if somebody can pinpoint something, you know they were paying attention. And I think if somebody wants to like express that they like somebody, then like chefs read their emails, GMs read their emails, like email somebody. And I would definitely say that versus Yelping. I know, because I know everybody in here reads Yelp. I read Yelp as a person, like chefs read Yelp. Like we all are aware and take it, because the further you get along, the more like you're critiqued. And there's so much critique out there. And whether it's good or bad, like that's fine. There's definitely gonna be bad stuff and there's hopefully really good stuff. But I would say like try to be direct with what you wanna say. Like, because that's the best way. People can pay attention to it and be grateful for it. I mean, I would like read reviews when I was the chef at Fern, and I would like read through them, and there were things like, oh, it was an awesome experience. Food was really good, but it took half an hour to walk to the restroom. And if you've ever been to Fern, you know it takes a long time to get to the bathroom in the back, but it's like, really? 3 stars, like, that's what you'd get. So I'm just really hopeful if somebody has something, whether it's good I mean, if it's good, yeah, yelp it, definitely. But if it's good or it's bad, like kind of try to get to the source versus being a critic. That's just kind of my stance on it. Yeah, in the back.
So you have your 5 years from now question. I want to hear your 5 years ago, I would have told myself this, because you said that you struggle with your confidence, and aside from having your wonderful partner, Andrew, what else would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? I would probably tell myself to, like, I guess if I looked back 5 years, I would probably tell myself to just, like, relax a little bit and to know that, especially with cooking, that there's so many ways you can take it that you don't have to just be in a kitchen. I mean, I'm so grateful, and I wouldn't have changed it. I'm happy that I was in a kitchen because I grew from that, but that there are a lot of ways that you can take cooking, and, you know, so that if I wasn't doing that, that, like, it's okay to relax a little bit, like, I'll figure it out. So, Sarah?
Obviously, you're doing a great job as a female chef in Charlotte, but there aren't many female chefs in Charlotte. How do you think we encourage more and get more?
We probably encourage female chefs by, like, I guess it just works its way from the top down to just not encourage the roughness in the culinary world, and to try to encourage that somebody's, you know, doing a good job rather than making somebody fearful of being in the kitchen. And it's kind of hard for me to answer because I responded to kind of the roughness in the kitchen. So I don't know, maybe that's a good thing I can talk to my the girls that work with me about, because I know they're growing in the industry and it's a little different now. But I think it's just, you know, celebrating the work they're doing. If you can find the female chefs that are doing something great, yeah. So I don't know. I think that's. How often do you order out? I don't order out a lot, but yeah. I don't order out a lot. In fact, I'll battle with Andrew. Like, I don't want to order because I'll go to a restaurant because I just know it. I just won't feel as good about it if it was put in a box and like in that little steamer and then came to me. Like, maybe if I'm ordering soup, but I'm not if I'm ordering like a wrap or something. Like, I just don't want. I want it to be like as good as it can be on the plate. But you know, I'll probably just like I'll order out when I definitely don't feel like cooking, and it's usually like picking up rotisserie chicken or something. Like that's probably the best thing is rotisserie chicken from somewhere, and that's my go-to lazy meal. Yeah. Okay.